I lived in the same family home up until I was 19 years old, and that was only because I was in a bad car accident the week of my 18th birthday, and I had to quit my job because of it. I always knew that I wanted to get out of our home as soon as I could. The things that I experienced and witnessed in that place were things that nobody should ever have to put up with. I would not wish the horrors of my family home on my worst enemies. I spent years trying to forget the things that happened to me in that house. I tried therapy for a while, but all the therapists I saw were convinced that I was making things up because of underlying trauma. One straight up thought I was possessed and suggested an exorcism. If only they knew that we'd already tried that when I was 7. I gave up after the 5th therapist, and that's when I accepted the fact that nobody would be able to help me. At first, I tried the easy route. I decided that I wasn't going to think about it. I was going to go about my days acting as if nothing had happened, as if I had never lived in that house at the end of the cul-de-sac. It worked, for a while at least. But soon, the nightmares came. At first, they were pretty normal. I had nightmares that someone was chasing me down a long hallway, and no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't reach the brightly lit room at the end of the hall. Every single time, I awoke covered in sweat and out of breath, as if I actually had been there, running away from some unseen danger. The anxiety that I got from this dream, so real. It was hard to tell whether or not it was something that I was actually experiencing. Another recurring nightmare that I had involved a dark figure that attempted to sneak up on me from behind. In this dream, I was 10 for some reason, and as I went about my day, I would see a large looming black figure in my peripheral. It would get closer and closer until I turned around to see that there was nothing there. As the day progressed in the nightmare, I grew more distracted by things, such as cartoons, coloring books, or the giant zoo animal floor puzzle that I was obsessed with as a child. I wouldn't notice the thing until it was right next to me. Somehow I knew that I needed to stay alert. I knew that if I didn't pay close enough attention, then the thing, whatever it was, would get me. Every time I caught myself being too distracted by something, my heart would begin to hammer in my chest, and I struggled to breathe as I tried to figure out if that thing had gotten to me yet. This nightmare, like all the others, always ended the same. I got a little too engrossed in whatever cartoon I was watching, and the figure managed to reach me. I didn't notice its presence behind me until it was able to wrap its large hands around my face and cover it completely, prohibiting me from breathing, seeing, or screaming. When I awoke from this one, my lungs would be burning for air. I would take giant gulps of air until I was able to regulate my breathing and lower my heart rate down to normal. Every single time I dream, it's a nightmare, which means that every single time I wake, I feel like I'm dying. It didn't take long for me to realize that ignoring the things that I've witnessed isn't going to do me any good. And so, this is my new plan. I'm hoping that by sharing all of the horrors that I faced in that house, I'll be able to set them free from my mind. And maybe I'll finally sleep in peace. I only hope that in my search for peacefulness, I don't disrupt yours. Grandma's bedroom. One of the more mild things about my family home was my grandmother's old bedroom. There were plenty of empty rooms in the house, as the house was quite large, about double the size of all the others on the street. One of the bigger rules was that we were not allowed to trespass into anyone else's room, regardless of whether they were alive or not. Grandma's old bedroom was by far the easiest to sneak into. All of the other rooms required picking a lock or hunting down the keys that were hidden all over the property. Grandma's room, however, was usually open. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and make my way down the hallway towards the staircase and down into the kitchen for a glass of water. A few of those nights, I awoke to find the door to Grandma's room wide open, the soft light spilling out into the hall. At times there was soft piano music coming from inside the room. Once I saw that the door was open, the dryness in my throat would be forgotten immediately, and I would run into the bedroom, no matter the hour. Inside, I would find all of Grandma's porcelain figurines dancing on the large wooden bookcase. The collection of small rabbits would jump across the shelf, scurrying around each other, their bodies making a soft thumping noise against the wood. I have always preferred living alone. No wife, no roommates, and most importantly, no kids. I wanted a cat or dog, but still hadn't gotten over the death of my last one. That all changed one day when I was taking an evening walk, and in a dark alleyway I saw a crying child. I looked around hoping this wasn't some kind of trap and finally approached her. "Hey there, kiddo, what's the matter?" She stopped crying and looked up at me. I don't know what to do. I don't want to go home where they're all mean to me, but I'm scared and hungry. I offered to take her across the street to the gas station to get a sandwich, to which she stopped crying and silently joined my side, still sobbing and scared. After getting a sandwich that she enthusiastically devoured, I took her to the police station. She said her name was Lilith. She was 10 years old, and upon research, the state had no records of her parents or past. They wanted to put her in an orphanage, but she clenched to my side. "No, I want to stay with him. He fed me and he was nice to me." This poor girl acts like she never knew an act of kindness a day in her life. I didn't know how to take care of a child, but something akin to guilt came washing over me. The next day consisted of getting inspected and ultimately being deemed parent certified when they found out I had a good work-from-home job. Lilith, who I now call Lily, took to the house immediately. She liked looking in the fish tank of my aquarium. She was excited to have her own bedroom, and she loved running out in the yard. One thing about her I noticed is that this girl eats like there is no tomorrow. Oddly enough, she wasn't skin and bones when I met her, but she doesn't even have a trace of fat you would expect most kids her age to have. She looked like a mini adult. After eating 3 sandwiches and a bowl of ramen, she went to take a nap. I still haven't totally adjusted to having another living being other than fish and plants in the house, but she brought nice energy, and her always being hungry reminded me to eat something myself. I made a note to do something soon, otherwise, she was going to bankrupt my grocery bill. I decided to take her out on a walk around the park area, hoping she would get tired and sleep easy tonight. To this day, I regret doing this. On the walking path, a deer walked in front of us. What is that? Have you not seen a deer before? Is it edible? Yes, actually, though I don't eat them. Lily then walked up, even though I told her it might be dangerous. I then watched in horror as she transformed into something not human. A horizontal line formed on her stomach that opened to a large mouth filled with rows and rows of razor-sharp teeth. Black corvid-like wings protruded from her back, and a dark circle, dripping some kind of black ooze, formed over her head. A large tongue like the tentacle of a squid wrapped around the deer and pulled it in. Blood splattered and bone crushed as she chowed on the deer like it was a candy bar. Then, like nothing happened, she turned back into her human form. "That was delicious," I heard her say, having no reaction myself except trying not to faint from the gruesome horror I had witnessed. "We should go home, Dad. You don't look so good." From that point on, I was afraid. Feeding her felt more like I was making an offering to a malevolent deity, and one night I woke up at 3:00 a.m. to which my blood ran cold when I saw her at the foot of my bed. "Dad, I'm hungry." I got up and made her 2 ham sandwiches. To avoid losing all my food in 3 days and keeping my bill down, I had to resort to more drastic measures. We would go on walks in the woods where we would go deer hunting, and I would let her eat her fill before returning home. On days when we couldn't find deer, I would take her to the rancher when I knew the farmer wasn't home and let her eat a whole cow. With the mess that got left behind, they always rule it up to an animal attack. The thing that got me the most is that when she's not acting like a voracious monster, she was the happiest little girl in the world. She loved having her hair brushed, making daisy chains, and I even bought a Switch so we could play Smash Bros. Together. I really enjoyed having her around, maybe because I was too lonely before. One evening we went on a night walk in town, and we were stopped on the sidewalk. One man was in front of us with a crowbar. Well, look at that, he then had an accomplice with a switchblade behind us. "Make this easy on yourself, pal, and leave the girl." I was once again afraid not just of the men but of something happening to Lily. I didn't notice when one of the men walked up to me and whacked my knee with a crowbar. "Dad!" I heard Lily yell as blood rang through my ears and pain shot through my knee. He grabbed her by the arm and she transformed. "Wait, the hell?" I heard the man yell as she coiled her tongue around his leg and dragged him into her maw like he was livestock. His friend tried to run for it, but she devoured him as well. His screams must have lit up the silent night ambiance. But I was in too much pain. My world was spinning, my hearing was muffled, and my vision was blurring. Finally, I came out of it long enough to pull the phone out of my pocket and call an ambulance. "Sweetie, if the cops ask you what happened or anyone asks, I was hit by a speeding car." She nodded, and moments later the ambulance arrived to take me to the hospital. After getting a cast and some crutches, I was allowed to return home. I'm glad my job was work from home, so I didn't have to worry about a babysitter, and I was going to homeschool her when the season started. I told her never to transform in front of other people, and to never eat another human being again. She agreed to all of it. One night I walked outside and saw her staring at the sky. "Hey, sweet pea, what are you looking at?" "What are those lights in the sky?" "Those are stars, sweetie. They look delicious. I hope one day I can go up there and eat every last star." "I know you will one day, sweetie." I'm still terrified of her, and yeah, I know I live with a monster. But when you love someone, you look past the flaws. She gave me someone to work hard